finally have their QB1 set for the season. This is your Denver Sports Daily for September 18th.
The biggest stories, the latest news. It's Denver Sports Daily.
It feels like this should go without saying, but every time you change a QB, if you're changing it every week, it doesn't really lead to success. It just doesn't. It's not how it works. You can't change your QB every other week and expect to go out there and win. And clearly, you'd hope Deion Sanders knows that, and it looks like he does, because the Ryan Staub experiment did not work out as well as people would have hoped. It didn't work out as well as I'd hope against Houston last week. They ended up losing that, but now the Buffs have gone back to what they know. According to a report from Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports, Colorado is expected to start Payton in Saturday's game against Wyoming. Now, if I had to narrow what this means to me in 2 words, if I had to narrow it down, I would say smart move. Payton never really got a chance to prove what he could be with Colorado's offense. Sure, he didn't have the best debut game. You ended up losing that to Georgia Tech. Fine, you lost it on a one-score game, and you didn't get a Hail Mary off. You lost it off a missed Hail Mary. Whatever. Losses happen. Losses happen in college football. They happen in every sport. But then you got the next week, Delaware. You got 3 different QBs playing. Caden Salter can't really get it moving through the air. He does get a running touchdown, and then you got Julian Lewis come in. Doesn't really do well either. Only gets about 8 yards. And then Ryan Staub looks like the guy. Yeah, Ryan Staub looked like the guy. Him starting against Houston maybe wasn't a bad decision, but you keep moving around the offense, you keep moving around the quarterback, you're not going to win. You're not going to win every single game if you're going to keep moving what quarterback is actually playing each week. So now you're going back to Caden Salter. You're going back to him. Can he prove to be the guy that you want him to be? Somebody who can take over the offense for this year, and then you get Julian Lewis in next year. So now what the Buffs need to do, let him prove it and stick with it. If you die on this hill of Caden Salter, then that's where you die. It's a nice hill to die on. It is. It's a good hill to die on. Caden Salter, this is his 5th year. He was really good at Liberty. Let him get his opportunity to be a failure or a winner with the Buffs. Let him get that chance to finish his legacy at Liberty with Colorado. Let him get his chance to finish that on a high note or a low note. It is up to him now. Make him the QB1 for the rest of the season. Do not make another QB move until later in the season. If you're 2-7 and you need to just say, all right, Julian Lewis, it's time to come in. That's what you got to do. You can't start Julian Lewis this early, and you can't take Caden Salter out this early. It's strange like how many QB moves we've seen so far with this Buffs offense, but this might be the one. It really does feel like the one that's going to stick. Caden Salter is going to be here to stay, at least for this season, or at least up until week 9 is where I put that threshold at for Julian Lewis. Now, moving on, the Broncos remain within the top 10 in the power rankings despite losing to the Colts on Sunday. The Broncos only dropped 1 spot in the NFL's power rankings as they now take over the 10th spot. Now, hey, power rankings, as much as people may not like them when they come from the NFL, they matter. They do matter. These are realistic power rankings, and having the Broncos in the top 10 despite recording an L, that's good. You lost by 1 point and you dropped by 1 spot. That's about as fair as it gets. Now, despite how terrible the loss to the Colts feels, it feels like we lost like back in week 3 to the Dolphins a couple years ago. That's how that loss feels. It was only by 1 point, and it was 1 point or 3 points at the end that were given to the Colts by that whole leverage penalty. I still forget the name of the actual penalty because I've never heard it before. But still, you lost by 1 point off of a terrible leverage penalty. You drop 1 spot. Sure. But the league still sees the Broncos as contenders. If you are in the top 10 in the power rankings, no matter what point it is in the season, the league sees you as a contender. And that's how the fans should see it. That's how I see it. But you're a contender still in terms of in the eyes of the NFL, in the eyes of Joey Gunner. But the Broncos are not only towards the top in the power rankings within the top 10, they're towards the top in the AFC West in those same power rankings. They are only second, right behind the Chargers, who came in at 9th, and in front of the Chiefs at 11. Strange. I'll talk about that in a second. But then the Raiders also come in at 24. So very, very poor from them, but at the bottom of the league. But the Chiefs, why is an 0-2 team ranked at 11 in the power rankings? Can somebody tell me that? Is it because of Patrick Mahomes? Because he doesn't look very Mahomey this year. He looks like he should be 17th in the power rankings at most. So having them at 11, crazy. But the Broncos need to take a look around, really, and enjoy this view, as they might be at the highest in the power rankings that they're going to be for a while, because they have a real tough schedule ahead of them. I mean, we got the Chargers this week after that, you got the Bengals at home. That's a toss-up now that Joe Burrow's not playing. And then you go to Philly and play the reigning champs in the Eagles. If the Broncos drop those 3 games, we will be having a much different mindset around this team and around this season, as we did last year around week 5. And they can't afford a single loss on this trip. If they drop 2 and 3, if they drop 2 of these games and win one of them and they're 2 and 3, that's bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. You win 2 of them, you're 3 and 2. That would be great. But which 2 are they going to win? Because the Chargers look like a really good team right now. I mean, Justin Herbert looks like one of the front runners for the MVP. And then, of course, I'm not going to really look at the Eagles game as something that the Broncos can win right now, because if they go out and they play the way that they have for the last 2 weeks, there's no chance that they come out of that game with a win. So tough, very tough. But where they are right now in the power rankings might really be the highest that they are for a little while. Now, moving on, this is some fun news. The first time, I feel, in a long time to talk about the Avalanche. They finally got their first chance to speak to the fans after a long offseason, as Avalanche Media Day was yesterday, and they're getting ready for their preseason practices and games that are all coming ahead of them. But it's so great to hear all these guys take the podium and speak about specifically the Stanley Cup and what this chase is and how much it means. But, Media Day, for some teams and some seasons coming off of certain things, they feel bad. They feel like, we got to go out there and apologize to all the fans. This didn't feel like that. Media Day for the Avs yesterday had a great energy surrounding it, despite the fact that last time we saw them, they were getting a 3rd period hat trick put on them by Mikko Rantanen. As bad as it gets. The way that the last season finished was as bad as it gets. But nonetheless, the guys came out there yesterday and they really felt great. I mean, it's insane. You could feel the energy in even the videos that you watched of them speaking. But Jared Bednar was, of course, one of the few people who took the podium, and he was asked about the championship parade back in 2022 and whether it feels like a distant memory or not. And he responded, quote, "Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, really. Even the next year, when the time you entered the playoffs, it felt like a long time ago." And then he went on, "The reality of it is there's only been 2 teams that have won since us, and everyone's fighting for that same prize. I think there's a big sense of urgency." And there is. And we'll get into more about the sense of urgency with other players speaking, but there is, of course, a sense of urgency to get back out there and win the Stanley Cup once again. And Jared Bednar, taking it right there. Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, and we want to get back to that parade. We want to get back on a parade route. We want to hoist that Stanley Cup once again, and they can. They really can. With the way that the locker room felt yesterday and the way the team is really coming together, they spent all the offseason together, working out, spending time, going on vacations together. There is a sense of family and a sense of urgency in this locker room. Now, Nathan Mackinnon, of course, also spoke on the Stanley Cup race, saying, quote, "You don't want to win just one with this group. We have with the talent and the great pieces. If we only got one, it would be tough. Looking to have a great season, and the goal is to win." Yeah. I mean, if you only win Stanley Cup with one of the best players in the world, Nathan MacKinnon, yourself, it would be a failure overall. And that's the same thing that could have been said about Michael Malone, and he got fired. That was the same thing that was said about him. You only got one championship with the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. That's the same conversation that we're having with both of these guys. So Nathan MacKinnon saying it right there. We don't want to win only one with this group of guys. And that's funny because that's what everybody's been saying about just Nathan MacKinnon. You don't want to just win one with Nathan MacKinnon. So it's great to know that everybody seems to be on the same page. They really have this huge sense of confidence and this boost of energy going into this next season. And they really do look like true contenders. And of course, last season they looked like contenders too, but you really have to take into mind how many mid-season trades and acquisitions there were and big pieces that were brought in and kicked out. Mikko Rantanen. So all of that shakeup happening in the midst of a season is rarely going to lead to winning. But now they look like they are built to win. And this could be the season that the Avs get back to the Stanley Cup. Now, that'll do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I do want to read some of your comments. Good morning, Joey. Good morning, Roy. Thanks for joining the show. Always good to see you. I want to be the fly on the wall as far as the locker room attitude worth the QB circus. I would kill to be the fly standing right next to you. I mean, what is going on up in Boulder? The QB room is a mess. I mean, you got Ryan Staub, who Coach Prime was speaking so highly about right after the Delaware win. And then he goes out and he doesn't really do much against Houston. And now you're going back to Caden Salter. And Julian Lewis is just sitting there watching the parents fighting. Like, that's what it seems like. I mean, the little kid right there just watching the guys fight. It is a circus. It is a circus. Yeah, I agree with you. I would kill to see what that locker room looks like. Now, that'll do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I'll be back with you guys again tomorrow, previewing a couple big games. Can the Buffs get back on track with a win against Wyoming? And can the Broncos do the same with a win against their first divisional rival matchup of the year with the Chargers? It'll be real fun to watch. I can't wait to come back tomorrow and speak all about that. But I will see you guys all then. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later. Bye, y'all.